great pleasure for me to be here to present the United Nations Human Development Report 2021-2022. Before I start the report, I have a quick question for the audience. Please raise your right hand if you are pessimistic about the next 10 years and the future. Pessimistic. Okay. Please raise your right hand if you are optimistic about the next 10 years. Okay. Very good. Please raise your right hand if you're not sure. Okay. We seem to have a good balance with a bit more optimism than I thought. It's very good news. Now I'm going to begin with the report. The UNDP report is titled Uncertain Times and Unsettled Lives, Shaping Our Future. We live in a world of worry. We live in a world of uncertainty. So the first slide that I want to share with you is the kind of overarching theme of the UNDP report. Just to give you a little bit of a background, the Human Development Index came out in the early 1990s as a way to measure economic evolution and human development in a country. The idea was that the GDP was not enough of an indicator, and the HDI is a composite indicator of schooling, education, health, and incomes. So it's a comprehensive indicator. The key message that I want to share with you is for the first time in 20, 30 years that the UNDP Human Development Report is coming, we have an unprecedented drop in human development, 2 years running. 2021 and line over there is that. And so what we are seeing is 2020 and 2021, over 90% of countries have had a drop in the HDI indicator. And this is also including higher income countries. Now, some of the higher income countries recovered, but you see it starkly in the chart. So, message number one. Message number two, this is not only at the aggregate level, but we are seeing it at the individual level. By a variety of metrics, data is showing that stress is rising, and it is even higher among less educated people. So you can see disaggregated data by education category, and you see that people are experiencing stress. So we're living in a world of uncertainty. We call it the new uncertainty complex. Now, I want to spend a minute or two on this slide. It's a very important slide. History has always been filled with uncertainty. People have dealt with economic stress, financial stress, political stress. But we are now seeing 3 structural shifts in the global system. Shift number 1, destabilize planetary systems. What does this mean? For the first time in human history, human beings are shaping the environment. In the past, the environment shaped humans. We see it in the data on climate. Temperatures have gone up by 1.2 degrees, and everybody is worried about the famous 2 degrees increase. We are seeing droughts in Ethiopia, around the world. We are seeing flooding in countries like Pakistan. We are seeing fires. We are seeing the erosion of the glaciers in Greenland. So this is a time of unprecedented stress on the climate. I would also like to add, many of the biggest victims of climate change are not the perpetrators of the emissions, including smallholder farmers in Africa. Number 2, we are in the middle of sweeping societal transformations. Who would have imagined 50 years ago that when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is we take this metal thing and we check our messages. This phone has led to dramatic changes in human behavior and a technological revolution. Secondly, we are living in a world where there's growing income inequality. There's the seminal work of Thomas Piketty and others who show that fewer and fewer people are controlling significant share of world resources. What are the implications of the inequality? Even the IMF has come out and said the inequality is bad for economic growth. Third is we are seeing transformations in jobs. There's a churn in the labor market. Old jobs are going, new jobs are coming, automation is happening. How is the job market going to look in years? This is a dramatic shift. Our third point that we wanted to signal is widespread and polarization. What we are seeing is that there is no longer a consensus in countries. There is increasing polarization across the spectrum. There's a declining trust in institutions. One of the stark numbers is that only 30% of the people in the world believe that most people can be trusted. And we see in the micro data that people are trusting those with similar incomes, similar ethnicities, similar cultures, but more distrustful of those that are not similar to them. So we are seeing this polarization, and you can all see it in the social media, in the political debates over time. Lives are unsettled. We see data that the UNDP has collected that 1 in 8 people suffer from mental health disorder. This combination of planetary change, economic insecurity, digitalization, it has led to some kind of loss of equity. And so we're seeing the unsettled minds. What is preventing all of us from acting together? Why can't there be cooperation and solution to these problems? Our societies are becoming increasingly divided. Insecurity is driving people to hold more extreme preferences. This graph shows that if you have a very high level of insecurity, then you're more likely to have extreme political positions. So you believe either government should do everything or government should stay away. And so the interesting thing in the UNDP report is the level of insecurity is not one-to-one correlated with the level of economic well-being. You have a lot of the insecurity in high-income countries. And some of the optimism is actually in the low-income young people in emerging markets. So that's an interesting finding that I wanted to share with you. Not all is doom and gloom. There's the road ahead, the path to transformation. How do we navigate uncertainty? Human beings have been there before. It's a new vector of phenomena, but there are 3 principles to be followed. Number 1, investment. We've seen that there's dramatic investment in the last 50 years in physical infrastructure, in human capital, in education, in health. We've seen now the macro-prudential, the SDRs, the support the international community gave under COVID, the financial support to countries. So humans have been, and governments have been very good at investing in the future, number 1. Number 2 is insurance. If you compare the world of now with the world of 100 years ago, there's been a dramatic expansion in social safety nets. We look at Ethiopia with the PSNP, the second largest social safety net in Africa. We see that there's a concerted effort to protect the vulnerable through expansion of social safety nets in many countries in the world. And number 3, innovation. We don't have all the solutions to the problem, but the human beings are very innovative. Just last week, there's the announcement of a potential game-changing vaccine on malaria. Nobody would have imagined the end of apartheid with Mandela and de Klerk finding an innovative solution to a post-apartheid South Africa. Human beings are innovative and can come up with solutions. Finally, inclusion. The micro work shows that it's very important not to leave anyone behind, that divided societies don't do well, that the more inclusive societies perform much better. And now I would like to leave it to my colleague Haile, who will continue with the Ethiopian context. Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, I will take you through Ethiopia's performance in the Human Development Report. Measured by the three dimensions of life expectancy, education development, and GNI per capita, the UNDP 2021 and 22 Human Development Report computed or calculated HDI for 191 countries, and these values are grouped into 4 categories: the low income, the low human development category, medium, high, and very high. As you can see from the slide, it with 0.498 value, HDI value, Ethiopia is located in the low human development report, somewhere in the middle of the low human development category. Looking at the progress so far in the past 2 decades, we can observe like 2 things. First, there has been increase in human development. That's one thing. From 2000 to 2021, Ethiopia's HDI grew by 73.5%. That's one thing. The second point is the good news, which is unlike many countries, 90% of the world's HDI has declined. However, Ethiopia's HDI remains stable despite all the challenges that we endured in the past few years. Okay. Then the next thing that we see is how does this HDI fare with Ethiopia's peer, with comparators. When we see Ethiopia's performance, we see that taking Rwanda, Nigeria, South Africa as a comparators, again we see 2 points here. The first point is there is a long way, given that the world is with the black line indicating the world average, also aligned with the South Africa performance. We have a long way to go. We need to step up to work on improving human development. And the second point is there is convergence. We see that convergence or catching up is another point. Next to that, the HDI is a kind of gross measure of human development where it does not show the inequality aspect or the gender inequality aspect or human pressure on the planet. All these aspects are not included in the computation of HDI. In the past several years, the HDI has been evolving and incorporating additional complementary matrices to indicate best performance of human development in countries. Of all these, let me pick 3 of them and discuss here. The first one would be the inequality-adjusted human development. The human development, as I indicated earlier, is 0.498. However, when we account for inequalities in the 3 dimensions, the HDI will drop to 0.363, implying that a decrease or a loss in human development values by about 27.1%. This implies that nearly 1/3 of the human development is lost because of inequality in human development dimensions. So policies should focus on addressing also inequalities. The second matrix that I would like to pick is the gender inequality index. We want this index, the smaller the index, the better human development achievement. In this case, the measures are reproductive health, empowerment of women, and labor market participation, or the labor market aspect or labor force participation of women. Measuring in this gender inequality index, Ethiopia's index has become 0.520, which is higher than the world average, implying that, again, we need to work more on to reduce this index by addressing these inequalities in gender dimensions. The last I want to discuss is the multidimensional poverty, which UNDP is closely working with the Oxford Human Development and Poverty Initiative since 2010. This report has been part of the HDI, which measures poverty in the non-income dimension. These non-income indicators including nutrition aspect, education aspect, access to clean water, access to energy, the housing condition, and others. There are 10 indicators. According to this indicator, Ethiopia's index is 0.367. Again, we want this index to be the lower, with the lower index implying better multidimensional poverty. Again, this is higher than the average, and policies should focus on addressing non-income dimensions of poverty. Next, I would like to invite my colleague Mehret to take you through what is in Ethiopia's context related to the theme of the 2021 HDR report. Thank you.
We are talking about uncertainties and unsettled lives. We'll be looking at what it means to what we are experiencing in Ethiopia. One thing to talk about is in Ethiopia, we are going through 4 major transitions. And these transitions are happening all at the same time. For each of the transitions one by one, we are going through climate change, we are going through climate change, we are going through model change, and also we are going through political economic changes. Talk about the demographic changes, we are having a large proportion of the society, a large proportion of the population is growth. Official statistics shows that maybe 70% of the population is below. We are also seeing the impact of climate change. We are looking at drought, floods, deforestation, and a lot more. With droughts, nearly 18 million people have been affected with the drought. Looking into the development model, we are moving towards a more open, market-oriented economic model from the one we had in the previous time, where the state is a dominant player in the economy, at least with regard to investments. And also on the governance, we are moving towards into a more open political system. These are 4 big transitions which are happening at the same time, and they happen to be a challenge for the country. Transitions come with greater complexity because we are dealing with so many of them at the same time. In terms of competence, in terms of policy choices, they happen to be very much complex. And also, they happen to be uncertain. We don't know about the outcome, and also what will be the outcome and the transition. There's also a volatility. We have been taking in the past 2 years or 3 years with so many surprises, with COVID, the internal conflict, Ukraine, where so many of them have been into surprises. and there is also a risk associated to it. So, what I just talked about associated with transitions, the uncertainties, the risks, the volatilities, all those things expose themselves in Ethiopia in terms of shocks. In the past 2 years, we had COVID, where the health system had been stressed very much, and also the economic system had been stressed very much. We know that the government fiscal space had been very much stressed with COVID, and also there was a social economic impact associated with it. We also have conflict. We have conflict in the north. We also have a lot of insecurity in different parts of the country. We have droughts, as I said, nearly 80 million people have been affected by the drought in the country currently. The war in Ukraine has been affecting Ethiopia in relation to price increase. Inflation had went as high as 40%, although it started coming down. It had been affecting the poor and also the middle class in the country. The other thing is in the external assistance we have been receiving, and it had shown a significant drop. In 2020, it was 4.7 billion. Now it has dropped to 2.7 billion, which is a very huge drop for the country. Now, what can help? Although this is very much obvious, we need to build our resilience in terms of prevention, in terms of damage control, in terms of rebounding stronger. What can we do to build our resilience? We need to prepare for risks in the social, environment, economic, and environment areas. We need to invest in people, in education, and also in health. We need to have a society. If we are going to face shocks, our society to come out stronger and to face stronger, better educated, with better health and better resilience. We need to expand our social capital, meaning we need to trust each other as a society. People need to be voiced, and they got to be listening, they got to be able to speak. We need to improve our government and also strengthen our purpose and work on our insurance policies, as well as improving our domestic resource mobilization. We do have a final slide showing us the future. I'll be calling my colleague Ali to talk on the final slide.
Thank you, Bennett, so much. So we would like to conclude this presentation with this final slide. And there are four very important points that we want to share with you. One is peace. There can be no peace without development and no development without peace. Paul Collier has a beautiful book in 2003, Breaking the Conflict Trend, in which they looked at a bunch of countries, and what they found was that there's a kind of virtuous cycle and vicious cycle. When you invest in peace, you get more development and you get more peace. And when you have conflict, then you get worse development and more conflict. So we wanted to stress these two parallel trajectories, and so peace, the peace is not only good state-owned enterprises, that some measures to start privatizing some and reforming. So that reform agenda can be accelerated, in relation to other peace. So my third point is institutions. Ethiopia has had institutions that have helped carry it quite far, but now the institutions need upgrading to address the challenges that we shared before. So we need 21st century institutions for 21st century problems. And my final point is partnership. Between the Ethiopian government, the developing partners, we believe that there's a strong symbiosis, that together the developing partners can support Ethiopia in forging ahead on its development path and going forward, becoming a million country of life. If we manage these challenges, the better Ethiopia is. Thank you so much.